Cooper's face is not coming together for me like I want. So you can see here, I've done a grid system over his face, 1 inch square, and then I transferred it on to the side of the sculpture. And it was very interesting trying to make a 2-dimensional grid over a 3-dimensional sculpture. That was fun. I had to do a lot of estimating and eyeballing, but the purpose for doing it was to tell me how far back I can push the head, because I wasn't satisfied with how wide the jowls were. So I want to push the head back as far as it could go. And then where should the eye be? Is the forehead up too far? So when I push the nose back, what happens here? So it makes it a lot easier to see. Here, for example, see this little piece right here on the end? That is this piece. So this here out on the end is going to come off. And then we say, where's the eye? Interesting. It's in this box. And then we look here and we say, all right, that box is here. Well, that box is almost entirely forehead. So I've got to drive that way back and say, well, where does the eyebrow come in? So it's 1, 2, 3. We'll go 1, 2, 3. So the eyebrow should be clear back here. So there's going to be a lot of pushing this back. And then, let's see, this line here is this line. So I need to measure up 1 inch from here and see how much of the top of this comes off. So I'm gonna, as I grind, I'm gonna keep penciling them back in. Grind and pencil, grind and pencil. Luke, I am your father. Wow. I really am under here. Push the face back about 1/4 of an inch, maybe just a smudge a bit more. And his profile is starting to look much more doggy-like, that direction. And then I've got his eyes, see some of the ovals, where his eyes are gonna be, where his nose is gonna be. So I think I found him. This is where he is in the log. I don't think I'm gonna move the face around anymore. Now it's time to just really define the face. After another session of carving, this time I focused primarily on the ears. I scratched the eyes in just a little bit to get the basic placement. Oh, let's see, narrowed the nose up a little bit too, based on, I found a picture of a Labrador Retriever's skull, which is very helpful from the top. See how it narrows right here at the bridge of the nose and then fans out toward the eye sockets just a little bit, and then it falls away from there. So I've got substantial narrowing to do here, but I began it in order to try to find the eye socket. And I put a dent in the forehead, put these little bumps here, and then started in on the ears. So I did this ear first. It's connected at the top and down the back, and so basically this triangular flap that lays this way. So this should be connected, and then under here I could carve some air up under here to give that flap. That's about the 3rd position on that ear, I think. Maybe 2nd, not sure. This other ear, it's an interesting pattern here. So on this picture, see how this slopes out like that? out to this point. So I tried to give it that slope out to a point, and then you see here from the top, I tried to find that point on both sides. So I'm looking straight down. I would like this to be more pointed, but I feel like I ran out of wood. I don't really want to go any narrower than that. Maybe I'll change my mind, but it does come to a bit of a point here. That was the plan. So this might need to angle back some more. That one's okay. This right here probably needs to come in a little bit more so that it's got that, comes out to a point. But at the same time, it has to trim the face, and then it has to scoop up like this. So the pointy tip of the ear, the flap, and then the rectangle going back, going up and going back, and then the connective tissue back here where that triangle lays down. So it was multiple things going on there at the same time. The position relative to the eye, up and down. The position relative to the eye, front to back. You're looking at it this way, you're looking at it this way, and you're looking at it this way. So there's a lot of stuff to consider, and I'm gonna spin him around here. Come here, doggy do. So see here in the back, once I turned him around and started narrowing the neck and trying to find this crown line here and take some of this out in between the ears, I realized this ear was clear up here, and that looked way out of balance with where this one is. So as I started removing material back here to make the back of the head meet the crown line, tuck it up under the ears, I realized, oh, I got lots of material here, so I can just stop short. And once I get this completely shaped, I think I'll have enough material that I can slope this up and actually make the ears match. So there's Puppy and his ears so far today. In this carving session, I worked on the hips and the tail. The tail was too thick, too square, so I rounded it out, gave it a tip, tapered it off a bit, and then put in this tip in the beginnings of a foot. Roll over here and show you the actual dog that this is in honor of. Has this triangular hip shape, and so that's what we're going for here. So I may need to take a little bit off of this front edge and make it a little more triangular. And I'm gonna dig down in here a little bit to define the tail and separate it just a little bit from the foot that you can't see that's under there. And let's see, what else did I do? I rounded out the tummy a little bit, cleaned up the legs some. They're still much too thick. I had a chainsaw boo-boo here, so I've got a filler piece of wood in there. And this cavity here came way down, so I cut that out and tried to round that off. A lot of that is still going to need to come out. Legs are still going to need to be skinnier. This paw has to come way down here. The paws taper back. They're the widest about here, and then they taper back on, we'll have to do that on both sides. And I got to put the hip in over here, finish out that foot. And then for the back, he's way too beefy. He's like bulldog beefy. So I'm gonna angle this down here, take a bunch off of both sides here, because this dog is, well, looky there, we got us a honeybee, might be a yellow jacket. This dog, the shoulder, excuse you, the shoulders and the hips are no wider than the ears. So I took a bunch of the dog off on the right and left. There he is, he's coming right along. All right, see you later, puppy power. In this carving session, the first objective is going to be to work this part of Cooper to look like Cooper. A couple of things I'm going to specifically focus on is making the legs thin enough and making this space here larger. He's got more space from his chest to the ground than I have here. So this part of the chest really needs to come up to about right here, and all of this wood to be removed. And then my second objective is to add some detail to his face based on this print that I marked up, identifying where the bumps should be on his eyes, some particular places of shadow and unique things about his face, and how his fur comes around down underneath and gives him a collar. I'm not going to put in the actual collar, so this bit of fur here won't stick up quite that far because there won't be a collar underneath it. But it'll be this scooped appearance on both sides in a couple of layers. And then we'll take pictures at the end and show you how we did. Here are the results of this carving session. You can see here his face, put in the eyebrows, the indentation between his eyes, trimmed the nose back some on both sides, carved the eyes in deeper, rounded the eyeballs, traced in eyelids, cut the face back a little bit on both sides to the ears, smoothed out the part of the nose that's black, put in the nostrils, carved in the bottom of the mouth, the jowls on both sides. And then for the legs, I skinnied up the legs, and like I explained when we got started on this session, I had a whole bunch of material in here that had to come out. So that came out, evened up the height of the paws, skinnied up the legs, took some off of both sides, carved in the elbow, and smoothed up his tummy and his shoulders a little bit on that side. While I was over there, I went ahead and worked some on the tail, defining this back paw here just a little bit. Over on this side, I just had to get started and make the placement. Where's the hip going to start? Put in the elbow, smooth out the tummy in order to get the back of the legs. That was the reason for moving all of that other stuff, was to get to the back of the legs. In order to get the face to look right, I went ahead and carved in this fur pattern here. Did the indentations here so that you've got the two hills and then the nice valley here at this fur pattern. Let's see, you can see it here. See how he's got the 1, 2, 3 with the two deep indentations in the middle, and then how he's got this scarf of fur down around the front of his face. And so I attempted to put that scarf of fur around his face. And I may make the legs a little more skinny as I get more room as I finish up the hips and the back paws, but that'll come in another carving session. So I think overall the addition of the details to the face and legs make him actually look like this puppy, and certainly make it look like a Labrador Retriever. I'm back. I had to go get some hot water on my shoulders. Been carving so long today, very sore and very crampy, so had to go take care of that. What we're going to take care of now is hips and paws. So this is the hip from that picture, right hip, and going to take the front edge of this off and make it a little more triangular. Going to separate the paw here from the tail just a little bit and round it. There won't be much paw showing there, but I got to get rid of a bunch of junk up under here that just doesn't belong. It's not dog, it's just wood. In order to define that paw, I got to get rid of that. Also, in order to make this work, see the back, I've got to define the hip here all the way back, and here I've got to shorten it a little bit. And then the back has got to cut in. It's got to cut in down to where the tail connects. And then all of this is not dog. This is just extra wood. So then I'll do the same thing on the other side for the other hip.